Hi everyone. So I am worked up again about a number of things, and I think that this will probably be even more of an organic video than I usually post because I haven't posted in a while, so I'm actually out of practice with the camera, and I have been following American politics, which I don't recommend because it does kind of rot your brain. Um, but I learned some things. Anyway, I wanted to talk about my problems with syncretism. Syncretism is the process, which is not necessarily something that's premeditated, but it's the process by which religions tend to become merged or blended together when you have one tradition overlaying another. In India, for instance, you have a lot of syncretism because there are so many different religions, and Hinduism itself is a merging of a lot of different faiths and smaller cults that got absorbed into mainstream Hinduism, especially by Shankaracharya. Like, as a student of Advait Vedant, which is the philosophy of oneness and that everything has the same basis, and kind of that everything's rooted in divinity, I am totally in support of the idea of oneness. However, I find it very frustrating when I'm trying to study some kind of specific pagan tradition and I'm getting a lot of what sounds to me like propaganda about how, oh, well, this is really just that. Like, if you're studying the Kemetic goddess Isis and then you have people telling you, well, it's really the Virgin Mary, that doesn't really help you understand much about the Kemetic tradition. So when I was living in Himachal Pradesh, there was a lot of this kind of thing going on because the tribes of the Himalayas have their own special kind of religion, which is very shamanic almost, I would call it. I mean, every village has a god or a few gods, and they have a name in the mountain language, Pahari, which really bears no resemblance at all to the god that they have been syncretized with, or the god that has been kind of, I would say, propagandized as the same god. For instance, you have a god in Himachal called Jamalyaru, who is a kind of demon god, or not demon god, but he's a very wild deity, and a lot of people propitiate him to do magic for them. And I've been to his temple, and now he is associated with the god Ghatotkach, which is the son of Hidimba from the Mahabharata, and I think Hidimba and Bhim is one of the Pandav brothers who's pretty famous in the Mahabharata. Now, if you go to the Jamalyaru temple and you ask about the history of that temple, they're going to tell you about Ghatotkach. Especially if I go in and they look at my face and see me as a Westerner, they're going to think that I don't know anything about the Mahabharata even, which I grew up reading those stories. So I used to get very frustrated when I would try and uncover the layers to get to, I actually wanted to know about the tradition that was uniquely Pahari, which is very, very hard to do in those cases. And, similarly in Africa, there is a number of traditions. Bantu, I think there's a religion in Ghana called the Aka, and there's Vodun, of course, in Benin and Togo, and Yoruba, which is very famous. So at a certain point in Africa, there was the invasion of Muslims and then also Christians, and there's kind of patchy different countries and tribes adhere to different faiths. And then there are a few that are sort of residually pagan or tribal, African traditional. They follow some sort of African traditional faith. But more often than not, they're syncretized, which means that they're associating their gods with certain saints in Catholicism, or they have adopted Islam, but there's a lot of those traditions showing through, kind of. So probably some remaining superstitions. I actually don't know, but I find it very hard to get any kind of, as a researcher, it makes it very, very hard to uncover, to separate it all out. And also, when you're asking questions, to get people to understand that what you actually want to get to is the thing that they're actually not that interested in. Like what I noticed in India was that Indians were generally very keen to make their faiths seem to be related to something more popular. So they were very proudly telling me that their god was Vishnu, and I wasn't, for me, that wasn't interesting. Okay, fine, it's Vishnu, but, like, why do you call it, I don't know, Hurang? Like, and what does that word mean, and where does it come from? And like, I want the more obscure, juicy information. So I used to get very frustrated with Shankaracharya because he had really made an effort to organize Hinduism into this very kind of, I don't know, I feel like he dumbed it down. I feel like he really tried to dumb it down and make it cohesive in a way that wasn't really necessary, and I feel like it obscured a lot of the wisdom. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is this process of people wanting to spread their truth or their idea of divinity everywhere is really quite arrogant and annoying. Like, I just was reading this story about the North Sentinelese Island near Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, it's one of the, maybe the last untouched community of people that has been untouched by the modern era. So there's this tribe that lives on an island, and I think that in the 1800s someone was shipwrecked there, and then they got killed by the inhabitants. And then, so basically at a certain point, I think it was like in the 1990s, the Indian government, who the North Sentinelese Island is sort of under the jurisdiction of the Indian government, they had passed a rule that no one should go there, basically because, I mean, for one thing, most people in the world have immunities to certain kinds of viruses and stuff that those people may not have, and it would be too easy to just wipe them out with contact, just by contacting them and passing along a virus like smallpox or God knows, like common cold. I don't know what kind of immunities they have, but anyway. So after they had passed this law, there were two other cases of people who tried to go there. Once was actually a pair of fishermen who got drunk in their boat and drifted to the island, and they got killed. Then there was a missionary. Now, one guy in a boat that decided that it was so crucial that this last vestige of like tribal people living without contact with modern people, that it was so crucial that they be brought the word of Jesus, that he should risk his life and go there, and he was killed. Now, I'm sorry that he was killed, but what an idiot, and how arrogant. Like, this, people don't realize how precious these things are. When you have a group of people that have been living unmolested for millennia. These are people that are the descendants of the original, like our ancestors from Africa. And they have been living in this kind completely unblemished, unadulterated state on an island for we don't even know how long. And you think that, because the thing about Christianity is every time they send a missionary somewhere and they're successful, which actually quite often they are, it completely erases whatever came before. And the presumption is that, well, primitive people are just primitive people. They don't have anything of value to offer society. How do you know? How do you know? Consciousness, human consciousness is so unpredictable. You don't know. Every single society has developed in its own way in different parts of the world on its own path, like branches of the tree. And you're just going to decide arbitrarily that they need to hear about Jesus. Who are you to decide that? That is so arrogant. And it really pisses me off, because there were these tribes in the eastern hill states of India that were also kind of unique in their belief system. They had an animist tradition. Now, there are not that many traditions left in the world that are animist. I would have loved to have gone and learned about their beliefs and maybe lived with them for a while. But now there's no point in going, because the missionaries got there and they spread the word of God. And now those people, half of them don't even remember what their forefathers were, what their beliefs were, and what their traditions were. Not to mention the fact that you don't know what a human mind on its own can discover in a different, with different training, or especially if it's a group of people that have been unadulterated by the rest of the world. We tend to just evolve in the same way because we're all influenced by each other. These people weren't prejudiced by anything that we think the world is. And it's not as if we can't be wrong, because we can. So they could have discovered medicines that we have no idea about. They could have discovered even technology that we have no idea about. You see them running around naked on the beach with their spears, and you think that you know what these people know. You think you know that they're primitive man just like any other primitive tribe in the world. You don't know shit. So anyway, I was just completely irate about this guy that thought, first of all, he risked his life, which is ridiculous. I'm sure that in his mind it was this noble thing. He was spreading the word of God. He was risking his life, and it was so heroic. Oh my God. I think that what he did was a kind of rape. He attempted rape. He was trying to do something so non-consensual. People that have no idea about the history of Christianity and what it did in the world. If you're a Christian, fine. If you have all the information and you still believe that Jesus is your Lord, or that his Father is your Lord, then great. Absolutely, I support your faith 100%. But some wingnut missionary goes there. You don't think he's not going to tell them about the witch trials? He's not going to tell them about the Spanish Inquisition. He's not going to tell them about the Crusades. He's just going to tell them that Jesus is wonderful. So they have no defense against that. They don't know, because they're isolated. And he doesn't know what knowledge they have that could benefit the world. Now it has been ruled that they are to be left alone, and I support that. But I also think, you don't know, one day they might have some herbal remedy that's the cure for cancer, or you don't know. So, and also, as a pagan, I would love to have learned something about what their beliefs were. We don't know anything about them. And so the presumption that whatever you believe or you think that your worldview is always going to be right just because you're the one that thinks that is the very definition of ego. So, sin of pride. Christians, beware of the sin of pride, especially when propagating your own faith. Anyway, that was my little rant. I think I got more into my rant about the Sentinelese than I did about syncretism. But basically, the theme of this little protest is, don't be too quick to obscure what you don't understand just because you think you know better. Because you don't know the value of things sometimes until they're gone. So just think about it anyway. Ugh, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But here in Thailand is the same thing. I mean, in the 1950s, supposedly the American government gave a lot of money to Buddhist monasteries in order to prevent the spread of communism, because religion is supposed to be good for preventing that, apparently. However, before the 1950s, the majority of the Thai population were not Buddhist. They were something else. And already we don't even know what that was. But it was some kind of animistic-like tradition. And I would love to have learned about that, and I am working on doing that now anyway. I will leave this video there. I adore you all any of you who watch my videos, and I felt like I had to talk about that. And also, it's really good to talk about something other than politics. And this channel is really pagan themed, so I wanted to get back to that. So I will upload more videos soon. Hopefully some interesting content for y'all. So, bye for now.